We're just going to take a look at an alternative for creating layouts using mobile apps. We're going to be using the one here called Adobe Comp. You can see in Adobe Draw I've got my cameo in the top right corner and the astronaut there against the blue background. And if I back out here, I'm going to use Adobe Comp, and I've already got a layout. If I were to create a new project, I'd use like a letter size, something like that, or an A3 size in landscape. To create a picture box, that's a container to hold your image, you just draw a rectangle and put an X through it. It automatically generates a container, and now we can go down as it's indicating in the tutorial. We can choose a graphic, and I'm going to take that graphic. I can grab it either off my device or from my files in the Creative Cloud. So this is my Creative Cloud folder. I pull this out. I'm going to use this file. And I now need to, I can scale it. I also have the capacity to crop the image as well. You can see here, I can scale it up or down inside the available space. Just crop it a little bit more. And there we go. So I'm just going to reposition it there. And then I'm going to bring in my second image. So I need to create another rectangle, put an X through it. I've got another picture box. Actually, I didn't quite get that X right, so I'm just going to delete that. It just created an object. There we go. It's now a picture box. The difference being you see an X through it. Get the image for that from my files. So I'd saved these earlier from Adobe Draw into my Creative Cloud account as Photoshop files. You'll notice they're PSDs. So there's my caricature file. I bring that in. I just want to scale it up a little bit. So more or less the same graphic density as the other image there on the left. Look to align these things the same, more or less. And now I need to put some text in. So for the text, I need to access the text tool. And the way in which I do that is create a rectangle and just a couple of lines, and it generates some automatic text. You'll notice a little slider here. It's very faint. You can slide up and down there to make the text larger or smaller. I'm going to make this 18 points. There we go. Oops. 18 point. Then I'm going to put my name in there. And while I still have it active, I can go to the T for text. I can choose a sans serif. I want it to be bold-faced. So I choose the bold version of that font. And I want it to align right. So I choose the alignment of right. I'm just going to move that over so it aligns flush with the right-hand side. So that's an Adobe Comp layout. This articulates with Adobe InDesign. So if I were to share this with the parent application, that would open up in Adobe InDesign. Just going to share that. And you can see the options that you have. You can send to InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop. You can even send it to Muse, which is for creating web pages. So you can actually start generating layouts for web pages directly in Adobe Comp. Alright, so I'm just going to share this out to InDesign. It's going to go back onto my desktop computer, and it's going to locate that and launch the software. You can see that the InDesign software in the bottom right of the desktop is launched. And now After an appropriate amount of time, you can see in InDesign, it's opened up that page that was created in Adobe Comp. It would have done the same thing for Illustrator. Again, it would have done the same thing if we'd opened it up in Photoshop. You can see that the InDesign software in the bottom right of the desktop is launched. And now after an appropriate amount of time, you can see in InDesign, it's opened up that page that was created in Adobe Comp. It would have done the same thing for Illustrator. Again, it would have done the same thing